All right, so look, my girl watches that show Tiny Homes a lot, and we was watching that show today, and it sparked a revolutionary idea. You see, when I was looking at these homes, I was thinking, man, what if you put solar panels on them, and then you had like the gardens and stuff on the outside? You are essentially self-sustaining. You ain't got no rent, and you got free energy, and you got shelter. You got a safe place to live. You know what I mean? And it got me thinking about the epidemic of homelessness and hunger, specifically in the Black community. Because realistically, this system was never made for us. Realistically, we are in these situations now as a consequence, as a result of a systemic failure. So to think that somehow this system is going to somehow end homelessness, end hunger in our communities, that's just crazy thinking. This system is the ones that put us here in the first place. So I really started thinking about these tiny homes and how cheap they are to make, how easy they are to make, and how with just a little bit of money and a little bit of effort, you can have totally self-sustaining living. And then once I got past thinking about the individual, I started thinking about a community, of how possible it would be to acquire land, a decent amount of land, and build tiny home communities for us that will grow and expand. And within these communities, not only would we have access to free energy and access to free food, but if we implement a trade and barter system, that would help us have access to the things we need. And I do understand that not everybody wants to live in a community. I mean, hell, we all seen The Walking Dead, and we seen what happens sometimes in these communities. Sometimes it ain't what it seemed. And I get it. Some people might be a little worried about it, but that's okay. There's other people who aren't worried about it, and there's other people who are really looking forward to building a community. And both things can exist at the same time. There could be individuals who choose to have their own tiny home ducked off somewhere. And then there are those of us who choose to live in the community. But we can still trade and barter amongst each other. We can still know each other. We can still help each other out. We can still share resources. Just some people like to live by themselves, but some people like to live in a community. But either way, the idea of focusing our efforts on creating sustainable living is going to be the only thing that's going to save us during the collapse. That's the only thing that's going to guarantee that we won't be evicted, we won't find ourselves homeless, and we won't run out of food. So the first problem everyone's going to say is, well, where are you going to get the money to acquire land? Well, for starters, there is a lot of land that is already owned by a lot of Black people. And I'm sure that some of these Black people that own some of this land would be willing to build community, to be a part of something larger than themselves. And even for the rest of the land that we need to acquire, we can fundraise. There's donations. There are different ways that crowdfunding can happen, and that money be used to buy acres of land and buy the materials necessary to build these homes. And if you really want to keep it real, we do have a lot of millionaires in the Black community. And I bet you, if you think about how much money some of these people spend on things like jewelry or their vacations or just random unnecessary luxury items, realistically, if you took all the jewelry that your favorite basketball player or your favorite football player or your favorite rapper had, just one of them, just one of those people, and you took all their jewelry and you sold it and bought acres of land and raw materials, just that one person's jewelry could provide self-sustaining homes to at least 15, 20 homes. You know what I mean? That's 15, 20 different families that could have access to free energy and access to free food just because one of your favorite entertainers sold their jewelry. But hey, I'm just throwing that out there just to point out how easy it would be to make something like this happen. Now, I wouldn't go as far to saying that this would be like a Wakanda, maybe not at first, but maybe one day it could be. Maybe this community starts with 5 tiny homes, and then it grows into 50 tiny homes. And then once that community grows into 500 tiny homes, and you got 500 different families living rent-free with free energy and free food, trading and bartering amongst themselves, you have schools, you're going to have hospitals, you're going to have everything you need to keep a small society functioning. You know what I mean? And this whole little society would exist outside of the control of the system. Because if we own the land and they can't kick us out, ain't nobody getting evicted. You know what I mean? And I just really started thinking about all that just from just watching that tiny home show. And it's crazy because I've seen a lot of episodes before. But today, when I seen it, I was just like, man, we could end the epidemic of homelessness and hunger in the Black community by starting some type of program, some type of coalition, some type of effort where people who are looking to do that type of thing can communicate, can start fundraising and acquiring the finances necessary to acquire this land, and even seek out places where Black people already own the land and see if we can start there. You know what I'm saying? Either way, this thing is very possible. It can start small and it could grow. And at the end of the day, it would give us back control of our own lives. And we wouldn't have to be worried that any day, at any moment, this system could just strip our lives away from us. And we can have the basic needs, and we can have a certain guarantee that our basic needs will be met. We would have shelter, we would have energy, and we would have food. And we would have community that will be growing, expanding, and networking every day. So, what you guys think? Leave it in the comments.